Tomatoes are out of season and way too expensive right now, but who says salsa has to mean fresh tomatoes? This winter, I've got the perfect solution for you. With just canned or frozen corn and a few pantry staples, you can make a fresh, zesty corn salsa that tastes like summer, without breaking the bank. It's quick, affordable, and so delicious. Let me show you how to make this easy recipe that's perfect for winter snacking or topping your favorite dishes. Hi friend, let's make corn salsa. To get started, I am going to mince up an onion. I'm actually going to mince up half an onion. I feel like if you want to make a smaller batch, half an onion is the way to go. And I do want to make a slightly smaller batch today. Normally I use 3 cans of corn. Today I'm just going to use 2 cans and I'm going to just use half an onion. I want to show you how I mince an onion because it's a little bit different from, when you see on the cooking show they mince it this way. I don't like to do that. I actually cut off these little side, I don't know what you want to call them, cheeks. And I just do this. And this kind of gives me that minced effect without having those big, huge pieces that sometimes happen on the sides. So if you struggle to mince onions, this is actually a really cool way of doing it. There you go. So that's done. And then when I come back to this piece, I just have to come down from the top. And it's nice and square. I can go as close as I want. And it's easy to hold it and grip it so it doesn't fall apart. I do sometimes get the outer layer is a little drier than the rest, so you kind of have to work at it a little bit. That one was a little on the dry side, so that's why it fell apart right at the end. This is a nice mince. So there are a lot fewer big pieces this way than I find when I do it the other way. Those side ones just don't end up getting done. For me, the onion is the only knife work I need to do. I do have some limes. These are key limes, and this is a sad lime that's been in my fridge a little too long. They will obviously need to be cut in half, but I am going to zest them first. The zest, in my opinion, is one of the key ingredients when making a salsa or a guacamole. It really bumps up that lime flavor, and you know what? If you don't like cilantro, this is a really good substitution, in my opinion, for what I consider the flavor of cilantro to be. So if you find that cilantro tastes a bit soapy to you, this is a really good substitute. It boosts that lime flavor without the soapiness that can come with the cilantro. I'm going to do both of these key limes because I think they will end up being about equivalent to one regular lime. The lime is looking a little on the sad side, so I probably won't zest that one, but these ones look pretty good still. It's best to not get the white part of the zest. That's the pith, and it can be pretty bitter. If you're really sensitive to bitter, just pay attention to that. I'm going to get both of these squeezed in there as best I can. The other bit of knife work that you might want to do would be to put in a fresh jalapeno or fresh bell pepper. I don't have that. I do have some freeze-dried jalapeno that I'm going to put in. If I hadn't had the freeze-dried jalapeno to put in, I would have put in a chipotle and adobo sauce. I would have minced that really fine, and that would also be a good substitution. And the chipotles and adobo sauce, since they're canned, it's something that you can keep in your pantry. If you open a can and you cannot use the whole can, they freeze really well as well. I normally put in like 1 or 2 peppers in a little container with a bit of the sauce, just to make sure I have a good amount of the sauce to pepper ratio. I am going to get my minced onions in. I have 2 cans of corn. You can use frozen corn if you want. You could also use fresh corn, but it is not the season for fresh corn. I am trying to make this as a pantry-friendly version, but I am giving you options if you choose to do this in another season where you've got more access to fresh ingredients. I put in, it's a 12-ounce jar, but it wasn't quite full. You could use an entire can if you want. You could use 3 cans of corn as well. That helps bump up the ratio. And that also lets you use the whole onion, so you're not stuck with half an onion. If you do happen to have some tomato and you want to dice a little bit of that in here, that can really add to the flavor as well, but we don't do that. But again, it's personal preference. Whatever you want to add, you can. So this is my red jalapeno. I'm just going to put a bunch in. This will rehydrate with the lemon juice, It will also, since I'm going to put salt in, the salt does draw out some of the moisture from the corn. Not like I got the corn completely dry when I drained it, but there will be other sources of moisture to also help rehydrate that. I am starting with approximately half a teaspoon of salt and pepper. This is to taste. You have to taste it and figure out how much you need. It's sort of a personal preference thing to your level of salt tolerance. I apparently have a very low level of salt tolerance because when I was growing up learning how to cook, I don't feel like my mother ever salted anything. I don't remember her salting things, and I don't remember learning how to salt things, so I never salted things. So it doesn't take much, and things are very salty for me. But I'm learning. It is a learning process. Once I feel I have this where I want it, the best thing to do is obviously taste it. It will taste better after it's had a chance to marinate. In order to get the salt and the lime juice in the right spot, you need to taste it and get that on point before you start marinating it. So I'm going to give this a taste and find out what it's missing. I bet you it's missing salt and lime juice, but it's always better to be under on those and add more than it is to be over and then have to add more cans of corn or beans or something. Definitely more salt. The lime juice might actually be good. So I don't know that I need to open that other one. If I feel like it needs a little bit more, I can put in citric acid, which is a great pantry staple. And if you don't have access to limes, because, you know, it's winter and you don't want to buy limes or you don't want to go to the grocery store because it's snowed in, citric acid is great, and so is the bottled lemon and lime juice. I normally combine those together, and it really helps get things where I want it, acidity-wise. If you do choose to put in citric acid, a little goes a long way. And don't breathe in the dust. It's pretty harsh. When I taste, I always try to get a little bit of the juice because that's where some of the salt and the acidity will be. It makes the flavor more uniform. Okay, the acidity is there. I do need to add more salt. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and want to see more recipes like this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out, and I'd love to have you here for the next one. Now that I have this where I want it, I will be adding cilantro. This is freeze-dried cilantro. You can actually buy this in the store. Bolt House Farms, I think, makes it. I don't know if anyone else does. It's really good for winter cooking when you want to add dried herbs. I find dried herbs, the flavors are really, really muted, but these freeze-dried herbs, they're really good. It's a really good substitute for fresh herbs, in my opinion. You probably want to add about a bunch. If you were going to the store to buy specifically for this recipe, I would use about a bunch. That's that. And then if you put in chipotle with adobo sauce, you don't need this, but this is the chipotle Tabasco. And this is a good substitute if you don't want to, you know, basically open up a whole can. There goes the bottle. We go through bottles of this. That will give it its smoky flavor and some heat. If you want to increase the heat, you can add chili powder or more Tabasco. And I am going to put in a pinch of cumin. Maybe a little bit more. There we go. And again, this is another way of adding in a little bit of that smoky flavor, but it does make the flavor a little richer and deeper. That is it. For the most part, this can be done with only pantry staples. You may need a couple of specialty things that you don't necessarily keep in your pantry. If you don't keep chipotles and adobo sauce, that's specialty, but you could replace that with a pepper. If you don't keep the Tabasco, but you keep the chipotle, there's sort of different ways you can mix and match to bring all of these together with pantry staples. This is one of our favorite winter salsas. It tastes great in burrito bowls. It tastes great on its own. I mean, I was just eating it with chips. I will just snack on this as part of my lunch. It's really good. Tacos, just about anything you could think of where you'd use a salsa, you can use this as well. The black beans are optional. You could leave them out if you want. You could add a tomato if you want. You can mix and match all of those ingredients and come up with something that is uniquely your own that works with what you have in your pantry. Let me know how you mix up this recipe with what you have in your pantry, because I am curious to know. I hope you give this a try, and thanks for watching.